Hello. This lesson is about writing a quadratic equation from a graph of a parabola. And before we start actually writing the equation, I just want to remind you of the two different forms of quadratic equations that we're going to use in this lesson. So first of all, if you remember, we have the vertex form. So vertex form is when I write a function and I've got some multiplier called a, which we'll talk about in a minute, but then my equation is written in this form, x minus h squared plus k, where hk is the vertex. So this form of a quadratic equation really helps us with this skill. The other form of the quadratic equation is the standard form. And most of the time when we're writing an equation, we want to write it in this form. So that's the ax squared plus bx plus c form. So if we're writing a quadratic equation from a graph, first of all, we're going to have a graph. And we're going to want to know two points on the graph. So in this specific graph, which is actually problem number 19 from page 10 in your mid-year review, the vertex is at -1, -2. So the vertex is right here. There's another point at 1, 0, and another point at -3, 0. So that's basically what my parabola looks like. But I'm particularly interested in the vertex at -1, -2, and another point, and I'm just going to choose this one, which is 1, 0. So step 1 is going to be to find the vertex. So we just did that. Step 2 is going to be to find another point. And then step 3, is going to begin to write the equation in vertex form. So in this particular equation, I'm going to start writing it as y equals, I don't know a yet, so I'm going to write a, and then I'm going to fill in my h and my k. So x minus -1 squared plus -2. So again, this is my x coordinate of my vertex, and this is my y coordinate of my vertex. So I've started to write that in vertex form. Next, right on top of this, next I'm going to find a by using another point in the equation. So I'm going to use the point 1, 0, so the y coordinate is 0. I still don't know a. The x coordinate is 1. This is going to be plus 1 squared minus 2. So I can now solve for a. So 1 plus 1 squared is 4. So 4 times a minus 2 is going to equal 0. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I end up with 2 equals 4a. I divide both sides by 4, and a equals 1/2. Sorry, I'm just learning how to use the typing and the writing at the same time. I think the typing is just a little nicer looking. So step 5 is I'm going to write the equation in vertex form. So now I have all of the information that I need. So that's going to be y equals, I know a now is 1/2. And it's going to be x plus 1 squared minus 2. So I basically just went back to my original equation written in vertex form and plugged in the a equals 1/2. Finally, my last step, almost always you're going to be asked to write this in standard form. So I'm going to move this up here, and our step 6 is going to be to convert to standard form. And I do that just by using my polynomial operation. So I've got y equals 1/2 times x plus 1 times x plus 1 minus 2. So I'm going to start with multiplying these two together. So I'm going to get x squared plus 1x plus 1x plus 1 minus 2. This part is still multiplied by 1/2. So I'm going to get y equals 1/2 x squared plus 1/2 x plus 1/2 x plus 1/2 minus 2. So that's going to simplify to y equals 1/2 x squared plus x plus negative 1/2. And I'm going to make this just a minus. So that's in standard form. So that's the end of the process for writing an equation of a parabola from a graph. I'm going to do the other problem from the review guide, but I'm just going to write it. I'm not going to speak. I'm going to change my mind. I am going to speak on this one, but if you understand how to do it, this is just another example. So the first step is that I'm going to find the vertex. So in this problem, the vertex is 2, 1. And then I'm interested in another point. So I'm going to use this point 0, -3. I also could have used either of the roots on this problem. So I'm going to start by writing my equation in vertex form. I don't know what a is yet, so I'm going to put a in. And then I'm doing x minus 2 squared plus 1. Now I need to solve for a, so I'm going to substitute in one of my points. I'm going to put the negative at the -3 right here because that's the y in my other point, and the 0 in for x. And then I'm going to solve for a. So I'm going to start with my exponent. So 0 minus 2 is -2. Squared is positive 4. I'm going to multiply that times a. And then I've still got plus 1. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So I have -4 equals 4a. Divide both sides by 4. And a equals -1. Next, I'm going to rewrite the equation in vertex form. So I've got y equals -1 x minus 2 squared plus 1. So again, I just filled in the a into the beginning of the equation, and then I used the rest of the equation with the vertex in it. This is vertex form. So if the problem asked me to write it in vertex form, I would be done. But this problem asked me to write it in standard form, so I'm going to convert it to standard form. To do that, I have to remember that this is x minus 2 times x minus 2. And that whole thing is going to be multiplied by -1. And then I'm going to add 1. Minus 2x plus 4. That whole thing is going to be multiplied by -1. And then I'm going to add 1 at the end. So y is going to equal -x squared. This is -4x, but I'm going to multiply it times -1, so that becomes plus 4x minus 4 plus 1. So in standard form, it's -x squared plus 4x minus 3. And again, that is problem number 20 on page 10 of the review guide. Let me know by email if you need me to go over any other problems with you. We could certainly video chat if you needed help. All right, thanks. Bye.